We've come to the fifth of Jesus' 7 sayings from the cross, and it's this: I am thirsty. Just 3 words there from John chapter 19 and verse 28. I am thirsty. It reminds us that Jesus is human. Yeah.
It does, indeed. And it reminds us of the reality of his physical suffering on the cross. He wasn't playing a part. He wasn't acting out a scenario. But he really did endure terrible physical suffering. This, the fifth saying, is quickly followed by the 6th and the 7th. It's towards the end of the time that Jesus is on the cross. It's right about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's been 6 hours that Jesus has hung there. And all the pain, all the agony has mounted up as time has gone on. And that statement, I am thirsty, is just a small insight to the physical sufferings he's endured. Others who were crucified endured those sufferings in a similar way. It was not a pleasant way for any to die. But for Jesus, that physical reality is a sign of his identification with us. He came into this world, became a man, and he dies a man because he dies in the place of men. And he suffers as men suffer in those circumstances. So it's a statement of the reality of the Lord's suffering as he endures all that anguish for us, that we might be forgiven.
Yeah.
So he dies our death. Death had no claim on him because he was without sin.
Yes.
But he offers himself up to the suffering of that excruciating death for us.
Makes a mockery, doesn't it, of all those who might think of Jesus as somehow being soft or associated with what is soft and weak, feeble, and unmanly. The number of times you mentioned man or men in a couple of sentences ago, quite something. We're saying that this is the one who made man, who understands man and mankind, and gives everything, bleeds himself, drains himself dry, as it were, for the sake of man, and goes the distance for the love of mankind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, we mentioned in yesterday's talk Psalm 22.
Yes.
And the cry of dereliction. And of course, this cry is also a fulfillment of Psalm 22 that described many centuries before the events, that the physical suffering that Jesus would endure on the cross. And speaks of the tongue sticking to the top of the mouth, in being totally parched, totally thirsty, not just wanting a little sip of water, but knowing what it is to be truly, truly, utterly parched. And so John, in his gospel particularly, wants us to know that Jesus died according to the Old Testament prophecies. That it wasn't an accident, that these things took place as they were appointed by God to be. So it's not by chance, it's not just the way things happen. This is God's appointed way for the Messiah, the Savior, to die, that we could have salvation.
Wonderful truths. Thank you, Gareth. Yeah. I think we'll end it there and speak about the sixth one tomorrow.
Thank you.